Welcome to the Coffee with Karen podcast, a weekly chat show discussing everything from holistic health to current affairs from a mental, physical and spiritual perspective. Get your weekly cup of positivity with a sprinkling of woo-woo.
Welcome to a Coffee with Karen. So this is my weekly radio show. This is a cup of positivity with just a sprinkling of woo-woo. Each week we discuss various topics from either a mental, a physical or a spiritual perspective, although quite a lot of my guests probably are a little bit of a combination. So today, I'm not even sure what our actual topic is today, but first of all, I'm going to introduce my guest and we'll take it from there. Susan, if you could explain to the listeners a little bit about who you are and what you do, and then share a little bit of your story.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much, Karen, for having me on your show. I'm very, very honored to be on this fantastic show with an amazing woman with pink hair. I love it. Oh, where do I start? I'm a best-selling author of the self-help book, Who's Afraid of the Big Bad Wolf? I'm a transformational speaker. I encourage people to live their lives from adversity into positivity. I'm also a talk show host for, and it's called Awaken Your Mind Magic. In October last year, much to my surprise, it was voted number 23 in the world top 50 worldwide podcasts. So, woo! Gave me a fright. So, whoa, this is fantastic.
Congratulations.
And yeah, thank you so much. I'm a blogger, I'm an illustrator, and I am a passionate visual storyteller. So those are basically the things that I work with. And then when you say woo-woo, where do I start? I'm an energetics healer. I work in the quantum and metaphysics field as a transformational coach. And on top of that, I'm a Reiki master. So those are my woo-woo things. So
fantastic.
I'm enjoying the cup of coffee and the woo-woo with you.
I love it. Well, it does seem to be that everybody who is a little bit woo-woo does also do the mental side of things, as in the mind. Yeah. And obviously we know that the whole of that has an effect on the physical. So it's wonderful to come across so many people that are combining all three factors, which I feel are just so important for have balance in our lives, right?
Absolutely. I agree with you there. And I think also so many of us discuss COVID. Mm-hmm. And I believe that when we were all building up into the year 2020, all the woo-woo people, we were saying that there's going to be this massive change in 2020. It's the year of change. Mm-hmm. None of us really predicted and understood exactly how much it would change and how we would have to learn our lessons in life. And of course, there's many of them that are not pleasant. And many of us have lost people that we love because of this pandemic. And others of us have had time to reflect because we've been locked up. We've had no choice. And we've learned the power of the word and the power of this incredible internet, which obviously is interconnected just like anything. It's energy and everything is connected like that. So we've learned to be able to discuss and talk to each other in a very powerful way. Just like you with your coffee with your coffee woo-woo coffee radio show, we've all started to do different things in order to be able to communicate with each other. Mm-hmm. So I also think we started to reflect far more and try to rethink how we are going to grow moving forward.
Absolutely.
And yeah, that's powerful.
Absolutely. And do you think then, with regards to what has been going on in the last year, what you just said there about the power of the word, The big problem that I see where so many people are living in fear, because there is, obviously there is something out there that's very real and people are getting very ill. However, the words that they're using, if you're watching the news, I mean, I don't anymore, but for people watching the mainstream stuff that's on the television, that consistent negative wording is almost brainwashing people, and obviously not in a good way, because we've got to be careful how we talk to ourselves. Have you found a huge difference with your job, especially as a transformation coach? Have you really noticed a difference in people because of this?
Oh, totally. One of the things that I actually teach when I'm coaching is to switch off the news. and that is because we, for eons, for more than 2 decades with television, and now of course the internet and everything else, have been indoctrinated by some of the big broadcasting news places, and it's a repetitive conditioning.
Yeah,
it's not just it's in the old days. I'm a baby boomer, so I'm of a generation where I can sit back and say, well, I remember when my mummy and daddy sat and listened to the radio, and the news would come on, and I can still remember the BBC. I can hear the music, and the news would come on. We all had to be quiet. Obviously, we were kids; we didn't care, but they did.
yeah.
And then you'd hear it for that hour, and then other things would come on, and it wouldn't be sort of repetitive. You'd hear it again at 5 o'clock in the evening, and it would be a whole lot different news, because that was the news of the hour.
Yeah.
Whereas now we have CNN, Fox News, any of these news broadcasts that continuously on a cycle come up with whatever's negative, and there is very rarely anything really positive. So when you talk about people finding their way about listening to broadcasts and things like that, and when you say you'd prefer not to listen to the news, many of us, I think, are actually saying, well, do I really want, is it false news? Is it real? Are we being made to believe that this is how we need to think? And COVID, I think, as well, has made us start to rethink of what the values and truth are, as opposed to prior to that, when we did actually just happily listen to what was going on and take it at face value and take it on board and believe it's all it's all the truth.
It's all the
yeah. But I think with you as a coach as well, and I'm trusting that you'll be able to work with me on this. When we're working with our clients, the last thing we want them to do is to be in a repetitive cycle of anything that's adverse that's happened to them. So the first thing we start to teach them is that they have to use anything that has been adverse in their life to turn it and flip it around into a positive story, and not to attach themselves to it.
Absolutely.
And I think we've got to start doing this as well with our situation worldwide as well. And this is where I think the woo-woo people are starting to look at what's happened with COVID and say, well, hold on, there are a lot of bad things that have happened. However, there are a lot of good things where we've been able to reflect and turn a lot of things that our creativity, for instance.
Oh, 100%. I'm sure so many people have had to, they've been, I mean, it's slightly unfortunate in a way when you look at it, because it does seem to be that when we're backed into a corner, that's when we finally start looking at other possibilities. And like you say, get a little bit more creative, and actually, hopefully, end up going towards things that people are actually truly passionate about.
Yep.
Whereas the job maybe that they had was really a means to an end. You know, we live in a world where there's so many things that we feel, because it's all perception, that we should be doing. This is what I should be doing to pay the mortgage, to pay this. So you're right. I do see that a lot of people, it's given them the time to maybe pause and look inward and maybe get a little bit more creative as to where they are going in the future. And what you said about it is the repetition. I mean, I don't know about you, but I say this so much with my clients, is that to create a new habit, it's all about spaced repetition. It's a spaced repetition of a new idea to bring it into the subconscious. And oh my goodness, in a way, I wish I was as good as doing that for them that the mainstream have been doing on the other side of it. They've done such a good job on this consistent negative self-talk that they're giving people. And I just see it as such a shame. However, it might be a good thing in the end, because then when people are aware of, you know, when we look back, when this is finally over, which I'm hoping it's soon, when we look back, it's a wonderful thing. And then when we look back, it might help them actually understand what happened, and that they can put that into something more positive. Does that make sense?
I agree. Oh, it totally does. The other thing that I feel very strongly about as well is how important it is to be able to wake up every morning when it comes to, we're talking about turning things, flipping them around, and saying to the people who are listening, wouldn't you like to get up and put one foot on the ground and then swing your other leg down and put it on the ground and say, I love my life. I'm going to go and do something I truly want to do. And be able to work back and reflect and say, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a singer or a painter or a chef or whatever. And now I have this opportunity to regroup, rethink myself, and become the person that I was actually born to be.
100%.
So when you talk about how we can flip this entire sort of scenario of what we talk about, news and things like that, and turn it into our positive use, why wouldn't we actually take that and turn it into the vocation as well, with the mindset of being able to say, this is what I truly want to do?
Absolutely. And that really is, I suppose, my hope, that, you know, something's going to come out of this that is positive. I mean, it has been horrendous, obviously, for a lot of people, from all aspects, you know, not just the dreaded virus, but actually the rest of it, the whole lockdown measures, businesses going, industries, I mean, just completely falling apart. But yeah, you're right. We've got to look at the positive, and it is absolutely a time for a lot. I mean, it's for some. I mean, for the ones that are, you know, furloughed. I don't know what the state of things are in Australia, but here, I mean, they've been.
It's bad.
No, but they can be at home and get 80% of their income. What a perfect time! Hello, you've got all the time in the world to now. Think what it is that you can do. So is this the kind of work that you sort of specialize in, Susan?
Well, when I work with people, I actually help them. I'm a dream builder. I help them live their dreams into reality. So what we do is we create a blueprint, and I use mind mapping and visualizing. So a lot of people will use everybody knows what a vision board is now. basically what I do with my clients is say to them, right, let's find out exactly what it is that you would truly, truly love to live for the rest of your life. And that is in all 4 areas of your life. So it's love and relationships. It's time and money freedom. Yay. I need some of that.
Well, that's if we're allowed out, because
that's a lot of time on our hands. It's health and wellness, and of course vocation. So your vocation is what you would truly love to be doing. So what your calling is. And a lot of us from childhood, when I do childhood regression and things like that with people, because I'm also a hypnosis practitioner and a timeline therapist. Yeah.
What an all-encompassing coach you are.
Yeah. Namaste. So when we do that, and I can actually get them to regress and actually go back into their childhood or in a past childhood, and they find out what they've really written in their Akashic records before being birthed into this world. That's their sacred contract, and it's what they're going to what they've chosen to come back as an amazing spiritual being in human form, to live the human life and experience the human stuff that we understand as humans.
Mm-hmm.
Many of us, through epigenetically, through our parents, our grandparents, and things like that, we're indoctrinated from childhood that we can't do something.
Mm-hmm.
The fact is, you can do anything that you put your mind to, because the power of the mind is so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And when you start to train your mind that it's going to live that dream that you create into reality, you have the ability to do that. And that is extremely powerful. So a lot of the people I work with, I start working off with a 3-month program. And in the course of that program, with a one coaching session a week, and I prefer to do group coaching, because they all encourage each other and they actually see what the others are doing.
Yes,
and
sometimes you need an idea, don't you? Sometimes you just need I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're on your own, it can be very, I don't know what I want.
It's uplifting. It's sort of, what have you done this week? At the beginning of dream building, we create a vision. And the basic way we do it is we ask them to step into their time machine and go back to the future, and sort of in the course, when my initial session that I have with my clients is an hour, but I've now recreated something else, because when I trained in NLP, that you do a breakthrough sort of thing, and that goes on for quite a few hours, as it sounds like you understand that. So I've recreated what I call a blueprint mind map, and I've brought in mind mapping, including visualizing. So we usually work for about 3 to 4 hours together. It's quite tiring. Right. We do need a break. We have lunch break. And basically what we do is, intuitively, I'm able to pull out what they have within them. And it's a reflective process. And what we do is we have them, or I have them. That's all my guides up there. All the how we go woo woo.
Helping you.
we have this person almost bring out a bubble with their mind. So we mind map, we do a central idea, we do sort of 5 legs on that with bubbles off those, and they move very quickly. and they process these ideas. And at the end of that session, they'll turn around and they say to me, Susan, I never knew I wanted to do any of these things.
Wow.
How did you do that? And I say, I didn't do that.
You did that. Well, why do you think that we don't feel that we can do that? Do you think it's because of, you know, from being a child, even you're almost told to stop daydreaming?
Yeah, you can't be a spaceman. Don't be silly.
Don't be ridiculous. Yes, that's
no. You can't be an opera singer. Why would you do that? And then nobody in my family's ever sung. So what?
You can't make money doing that. So you know,
make money.
Go and be an accountant.
You can't make money, and you sort of think, why tell a person about that? Immediately the money paradigms start to set in. And that's why the majority of any person I've ever coached or even spoken to, including myself until I understood myself better, have money paradigms. They have money paradigms because from childhood you're told, look, we can't afford that.
Money doesn't grow on trees.
Money doesn't grow on trees.
Actually, it does.
It does. It does. I quite like money trees. Money trees are nice, but I prefer cryptocurrency.
Oh dear. Yeah, it's amazing how some very simple and even as a parent, I'm very aware of this. I think because sometimes you repeat things subconsciously because again it's something you heard as a parent. Then I have to stop myself. I can't believe I just said that. Because now we have the understanding of what, but it's amazing how really sort of ingrained some of these things can be, and that sometimes we're unwittingly can pass it on again because it's a habitual thing.
It is.
Conversations or sayings you remember that your mum or your dad saying. I could hear myself repeating it.
I heard you. You said, money doesn't grow on trees. I thought, I bet her mother used to say that to her.
And what an impact it has and it can still have on us now until, obviously, we are aware. And then, obviously, that's very empowering because once we are aware, then we can do things to change that, right?
Absolutely. Karen, what happens is you have this ability to say to yourself, that's fine. I'm right here where I am right now. I'm in the place that I'm meant to be. So when you're practicing mindfulness as well, and you forgive whatever's happened in the past, you can't do anything that's in the future. However, you can live the future into reality. And especially as a parent, I mean, I adore children. I've been in the educational field for 40 years. I've been around a long time. And I love to be able to see the creativity of a child. And consequently, when you're working with adults, the creativity of that child that's within that adult. Mm-hmm. And it is very important, Karen. It's extremely important that parents start to understand that saying to a child it's not possible is almost like stopping whatever is incredible within that little human, because what is within your little human is an incredibly talented spirit that is eternal, that may have even lived other lives, and that spirit may even be a lot older than you are.
Yeah. I joke with my daughter and say, you were probably my mum in a previous life.
Very possibly. And she possibly was. Easily. Or something. Somehow. And the other thing is that it happens is we tend to always think that we've only got this life. We do only have this life as this human we've chosen to be at this time. And why wouldn't you want to live it into this incredible life? I work with people who are suicidal, who have huge anxiety, who have had all sorts of things that have, rape victims, people like that. And when I do work with them and we actually are able to recreate their projection of who they are and their ability of what they can turn something that's been extremely adverse into something that is powerful. So a lot of the people go on to creating a charity or helping. They turn their lives around and end up being a counselor or something like that.
You see that so much. It does seem to be a real common thread. And I think especially, like a lot of my guests have been going on to a little bit of woo-woo, the spiritual side of things, because they've come from a place of looking for opportunities to heal.
Yeah.
And have healed, felt so amazing. And then obviously that's just a natural next step, isn't it? Because we know what we've gone through and we've come through it. We want to then go and, help everybody else to say, you can get through this. You can get through it. It's a natural, it's a natural thing, I think, that tends to happen.
It is. It's important that children as well are allowed to understand that there are fairies in this world. There's magic in this world, because there is so much magic around us. And if we look for it and believe in it, and we allow our children to continue believing in it, and we continue into believing it, that's when the magic really starts happening. I mean, that's why my podcast is called Awaken Your Mind Magic. It's because people have this ability through the power of their mind and visualizing to do just about anything they truly want to do. Richard Branson, people like that, they're no different to us. They just allowed that mind magic to work for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's something that is just seems to be suppressed because everybody is being brought up to use the left side. We've got to be analytical and is this a good business plan? Like, no, hang on, let's forget everything. Let's work backwards. Let's go back to, let's focus on what gets you excited, what gives you the reason to bounce out of bed in the morning and actually feel good. And it does seem such a shame that the youngsters, a lot of people are coming into this a little bit older in life, and you think, I wish this was taught in schools, or this should be taught in schools.
It should be. Dream building, definitely, where it should be part of every curriculum. They should all have a lesson on living their dream and having a vision, having their vision board, having their dreams actually encouraged.
Why do you think? What do you think the reason is that? Because it does seem to be, especially in the self-development world. I think anybody who's listened to Tony Robbins or any of the sort of mainstream big names, I think are sort of coming around to that idea that, imagination is so powerful. But what do you think is stopping? What do you think is blocking this being brought into the mainstream, especially with the younger kids? Where are we going wrong?
Oh dear. I honestly believe, and I mean, I've worked in schools and places and universities and places like that. What I think is, in the past, we all believed that our children had to do all their 3 hours and get those done. They had to think in a certain way, because without that, they'd never be a success. And one of the things that I work in art therapy and things like that. One of the things that made me really sad in UK and various other places is the first thing in a curriculum, if the school's not doing what financially well or anything, they drop the arts. And I mean, even Einstein said that the arts were you had to be able to do that to be able to do anything else.
Yeah,
and
sure.
It is the art of creativity. So why do I think that? It's us 20th century, 21st century believing, and even 19th century, the industrial age, where we had to have that way of thinking. I mean, I think some of the, I think it's Denmark and some of the other countries, they've recreated a different system of education where a child can actually move from one classroom. I think Japan as well. They can move from one classroom to another, and they zone towards whatever is really attractive to them. And they're encouraged to do that. So
I had heard something, because I'm sure we heard something about, I think it was Helsinki, so Finland, because I can remember my daughter. I want to go there. I want to go there.
Because Karen, it's important. Not all of us do the same things. Why would we? We are all individuals. And in the conventional type of school, we are, in order to control the children, and this is what governments do to us too, in order to control and contain us, we have to all basically do the same sort of thing. Instead of saying, let's get some of our best experts, our best creatives and everything from childhood. Let's see what they do, like you say, Helsinki and Denmark and places like this. And they watch where from childhood you're attracted to. So some kids will go to the maths class. I certainly wouldn't. I'm not. I'd rather be going to the English class or the French class or the art class where I can splash paint. But a lot of kids don't want to do that. Or a child who's never played an instrument before but is naturally gifted, and they keep on going back to the musical instruments. Why wouldn't you, as a teacher, an educator, watch what those little people are doing and encourage that? Whereas in the Victorian times, you couldn't do that. It was you had to, every woman had to do a bit of needlework, and and we all had to learn how to sing, even if we had terrible voices, and so that we could go and sing to all the ladies and men at some soiree in somebody's salon, and not many people cooked unless you were a family that had to cook.
Yeah, sure.
And
this sort of thing around now.
and that's a pity, because I think everybody should, because it's a science.
I think more so now, because we have been in lockdown, people have been forced, or they've got more time. So again, they've got a little bit more creative in the kitchen. That's a good thing.
They watch on Jamie Oliver and think, okay, well, we'll do what you can do. And the other thing is, people lost the art until this last year of growing things. So after the Second World War, and during the Second World War, we all had to have our little veggie patches and things. And that kind of went by the by when, again, big institutes, and we were indoctrinated into believing we had to buy our vegetables from the supermarket and all of this sort of thing. Whereas the power of growing things is also a creative source, and it's rewarding.
Absolutely.
So I don't know about you on your side of this big pond, but I do know that a lot of the Aussie people are growing veggies and bringing chickens into their gardens.
Right.
This sort of thing.
I do think that's the way. I totally feel that is the way we've got to go back to, and everything that we've learned from a health perspective is, I think, locally grown organic produce. This is what we need. We do need to. I think we got it wrong from sort of the 60s.
Yes.
We've got it totally wrong. We've been going down this side road from about the 60s, and we've gone the wrong way. We need to come back up. We need to reverse. We need to reverse a long way, because I think it's done a lot of damage, and I totally agree. I think people would need to go back. I do actually know. I do have a few friends that are keeping. Well, actually, they had pygmy goats a little while ago, and little pygmy pigs, and fantastic.
And the kids now say, "Oh, well, that's a pig." They don't go to the supermarket and say, "This is where the pig." Oh, are you eating pork? Oh, yes, it's in a packet. They're now sort of aware. Quite a few of the ones I know say, "Well, I'm not eating meat because I got a chicken, or I got a pet guinea pig," or not that you want to eat a guinea pig unless you're South American. But it's just interesting what this past year has done to so many of us. And again, it's also very interesting when you're coaching in the transformational sense of coaching, where you allow that creativity. And that creativity is what actually gets you to being very successful if you choose to live your dream into reality.
And is that because you are just aligned with your absolute purpose? Absolutely.
Because when anybody who's studied NLP or anything to do with the brain scientists, whatever, your brain, it actually can be made to believe that something is real. Torturers do this, unfortunately, but you can live your reality where every single day you speak in the present tense about what your dream is. So I am such and such. This is who I am. This is what I'm doing. And in the end, you start actually looking at opportunities and opening yourself up to opportunities and saying, well, this is obviously the way I'm thinking. This opportunity has come my way. How best can I utilize this?
Yeah, so, we've all got to learn how to, and I suppose the word manipulate to me brings up a negative connotation. But what I mean by we need to learn to sort of use those things for our advantages rather than our default setting is actually we're using that same science to our disadvantage, or from going back to what we're listening to, brainwash day in, day out. It's almost like we're going to be ill because our brain is going, we've been told that we're going to get this COVID, so let's get COVID.
And we are going to be, and this is going to happen to us. So where you were saying earlier on the adverse side, and this is what we've got used to doing, adverse news, false news, other sort of things like that, where we're saying to ourselves continuously, I can't do that. It's impossible. The universe understands that. And we are all energy. We are all interconnected with, if you want to call it God. Some people find it difficult, so they say it back to front, the dog, or or whoever you want to call the big
universal, whatever,
Gaia, or whatever you want, Gaia, or the big dude. The thing is, that is what is reflected back at you, because you keep on saying, I can't do that, or it'll never happen to me. I'm never going to be rich. Oh, I'll never find the love of my life. I keep on finding the worst people on earth. Well, that's what you get.
Yeah, the universe is very good at giving you what you want, right?
Yeah, that's right. They say,
But be
oh,
very
gee,
careful. Be
my
very
love and
careful.
my
What
love
you
and
wish
relationships are always terrible, and I always find this horrible man or cheeky woman or blah blah blah, and then that's what you get.
There you go.
And
There
you
you
know
go.
that saying, what you see is what you get, what you say is what you get. It is what, oh hey, that sounds like a rap song.
Yeah.
It's what you do. What you do is what you get.
We're just
you think,
conditioned, aren't we? We're just you know, no one's at fault here. There's no, it's just the way we have been conditioned through previous teaching styles, which they obviously had our best interest at heart, and they didn't know better at that time. You know, I suppose we're all trying to get through life. We're trying to do the best we can with the knowledge we have in the present moment. That's all any of us can do.
Absolutely.
And it's just so interesting that, you know, now I really feel that people are starting to maybe look around and question whether that way was the right way or not.
Totally.
And hopefully looking, especially for people like you, to guide them, to guide them and get them to find their what, because, you know, isn't this what everybody wants from birth, to live the life of their dreams, the life that they
of course. So,
you know,
Karen,
and
so let me just ask you, what would you truly love?
What would I truly love?
What would you truly love?
What right now I would truly love to be sat on a beach somewhere. In the sunshine.
Which beach? So you've got to be specific. So when you're dream building, you've got to say exactly when, which day, which month.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Ooh, somewhere in South America, I reckon.
Oh, more specific than that, girl.
Oh, dear, oh dear. Guatemala. Let's go. That's definitely on my list of things to go.
Now
things to do.
You've got Guatemala. It's on your bucket list.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Now give yourself a day.
Oh,
when will you arrive there?
September. Is that a good time? I don't know whether that's a good time to go.
You could even give yourself a date.
Oh, September the 11th. Oh, no, that's not a good day, is it? Hang on. Let me. That's an automatic thing. September the 15th.
Okay, September the 15th. Which year? Because you haven't said which year.
This year.
2021. So when we finish this little chat, you go and write that down and you put it in your calendar. And then what you do is you go and find the hotel and everything else that's going to go with it.
Right.
And you project towards that and you tell yourself that that is what you're going to do. Let's see what happens. Perhaps I could meet you there sometime.
Yeah. See, I can't wait to travel. I can't wait. We've been so restricted. So the ability to actually, yes, I need to go somewhere hot. You see, you're over there in Australia. You've got to feel for us over here, right?
I do. My youngest daughter's in London, and she actually spoke to me the other day. She said to me, "Oh, Mum, it's so miserable. It's wet and it's cold, and we're locked down."
and I suppose that is the trouble. You see, I think for a lot of people, they do misunderstand this whole sort of, whatever you call it, law of attraction, whatever you want to sort of call this kind of thing, because of what they see in the now seems so real and so fixed and so permanent. So their current reality is not necessarily what they want. For some people coming into this, it can feel, again, it's all perception, or they view it as, that's just ridiculous, Susan, what you've just said, just to write a date down and put it in your diary. That's not going to work.
And it won't work.
It won't, because exactly of what they've just said.
Yeah.
But I think the hardest part for some who are very new to this kind of thinking is that the reality of the now, when it's so far, it's very easy. So if I've been traveling before, say, the lockdown, and I've been going to Mexico and Panama, for me to go, oh yeah, Guatemala, so yeah, booked, done. Whereas if somebody who's never even left the country, the whole thing of put it in a date, it seems so far away. Now we know that that's just their little devil on their shoulder, their little subconscious mind only wanting to keep them in what they know, keep them safe.
Critical self. Yeah.
What would you say as the biggest tip for somebody that's maybe feeling like they're stuck? Because none of us are. Yeah, with the powers that be, temporarily at the moment, we're being a little bit controlled, but it's not forever. What would you say? What would your biggest tip for them to overcome that, looking at the reality? Because what way can they turn their attention away from the current reality and really learn to have those feelings of the other, their future?
The long and the short of it is that nothing stops, nothing slows down. So you can either project yourself towards going on two paths. One is in the direction of your negative path and have a negative outcome, or you can go on the positive path and actually start creating that direction that you want to take.
Absolutely.
So what I'd say to you in answer to that is, when you start to say to yourself, suck it up, princess, this is just not going to work anymore. I'm not going to listen to that critical inner voice. I'm going to take the inner child that's actually positive. And what universe does understand is living with laughter, joy, fun, happiness, and live in that moment of that joy and work towards that path of where you want to go. So again, this may sound to some people who are skeptical, oh, yeah, it's all right for her. She's got it all. Hey, you want to hear my story? I got quite a few. And I overcame adversity, and I learned how to use this mindset to get to where I want to go and to live the life I truly love. And when I say that, I don't say that lightly. So, I can go on to talk shows and talk about all sorts of adverse things. And only because I've experienced many of them.
Mm-hmm. So firsthand.
Yeah. And I'm not going to let that hold me back, because why would I sit and allow myself to be tethered to something that's happened in the past, that's gone, and is never going to come back again? And the only power that thing that's happened in the past, whether it's a bad thing that happened, or somebody who's a refugee, or a rape victim, or a person who's committed suicide in your family, or any of those sort of things. I hang on to something like that. It has power over me. Where you learn the art of forgiveness, and first and foremost, and love for yourself, you then have the power to be able to choose one of those two roads. You can say, I'm going to stay in the negative field and allow it to control me. And anything that's happened to me in my past is going to hold me down. and I'm going to keep returning to that and have my little pity party,
Mm-hmm.
or I'm going to move on and create that vision and use any of the stories that I saw as an adverse story as a lesson.
To flip it.
And yeah, and we talk about life lessons. You know, many sort of old sort of sayings and quotes and things like that are very wise ones when you start to understand and work in the field of quantum, of the quantum field of law of attraction and things like that. So you can choose exactly which path you want to do. And that's why I say you can choose which vision you choose as well. You can choose a vision that's going to be a life of misery, or you can just flip it and say, okay, so I was in prison, or I did such and such, or I'm still in prison, but what can I use, or I'm still somewhere. What can I use this lesson to empower myself and not be totally miserable about it? So that is vision building as well. It's when you or dream building is when you make yourself understand that there is good in every single situation that you've ever experienced in your life.
Totally. Every new moment is a new moment, right?
It is.
I mean,
So
obviously I come from health and wellness industry, so I'm sort of coaching on a completely different level, but it's still pretty much the same, right? It doesn't matter what goal you're looking to achieve, whether it's to lose weight or to whatever. It's all the same format. And what I have found, even with myself, that works really well. I mean, you recommended a lot of this at the beginning about, you know, going a little bit deeper than a pure vision board. But it's quite interesting. I was very aware of my negative, you know, voice that, you know, telling me, well, who do you think you are, Karen? You can't do that, blah, blah, blah. And what I have found that's really, you know, for anybody out there who does think, oh, that's, you know, too big a gap, as it were, from where they are to where their goal is to soften that little voice by actually just turning it into a question, or, you know, just, do you know what? Yeah, but wouldn't it be great if I was lying on a beach in Guatemala on the 15th of September? And all of a sudden, it shuts up, because it's like, oh, well, yeah, you're right there. Actually, it would be great. You know, turn it around. Wouldn't it be amazing? Yeah, if I did get there, all of a sudden, turn that negative voice off, you're close to that goal instantly, right?
Totally. So you now, I mean, already we've put an idea in your head, and it is going to stay there, because this is what happens is in your mind, you've got this thing going on in your head. So it's going to stay there. And what you're going to do, because we're human, is be curious. And that's what you've got to do, is you've got to allow yourself that curiosity. You were saying that you're in the health and wellness as a coach. What got you to be a health and wellness coach? It was about weight.
Mm-hmm.
And you turned from whatever the reason is into becoming somebody that can work that in your industry to help other people, because you understand it.
Mm-hmm.
So you're living this amazing life as a health and wellness coach, helping people to be healthy, and go and possibly, you might be doing it. I know you're going to. Get onto that beach in Guatemala or some sort of spa or whatever it is. But again, it's how your mind starts to work and how you can turn adversity into this positivity, from maybe being extremely overweight or having a health issue where you couldn't breathe and you thought, well, you know, I've got to go and get fit or what. And you find your niche in whatever it is you do. And that's your vocation. That's your calling.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I say to people who are listening to this, think very seriously about whatever has been adverse in your life. Don't be sorry. You're allowed to have a pity party about it, but don't dwell on it.
Don't stay there for too long.
Move out and say, well, what was that lesson? Why did that happen to me? Or how did I facilitate it happening? Don't be angry with everybody around you about how it happened. Ask yourself, that's okay. Let me start to love myself more and actually figure out how that is going to help me move forward, not hold me back.
Totally. It's very interesting what you said there about, you know, you know, even if you were in this pity party, I think such an important part of all of this is to let things go. You said it right there about forgiving. And it's not, if it's, you need to forgive somebody that, you know, for something that they did to you, that's one thing, but also to actually forgive yourself.
Totally. Right? You gotta love yourself.
Just got to absolutely let it go. You can acknowledge it. We can acknowledge it.
Yep.
But you know, I totally agree. Forgiveness is something that I think for some people, I mean, I think a lot of people in the self-development world, they've sort of heard this over and over, so they've got it. But for people that have maybe never been introduced to things like this, I think that whole idea of forgiveness can be for some of them, what do you mean? Well, they did that. It's like, do you want to stay in your pity party? Yeah. You have two options, don't you?
Yeah. Stay there or leave.
You want to stay in a pity party? Not really. It's not a lot of fun in a pity party. I like another party.
Yeah, I like different kind of parties where I'm having fun. And that, again, if you keep on allowing yourself to remain there, you allow yourself to be this angry person who consequently makes yourself sick.
Yeah. It's all linked. It's all linked,
It
right?
totally is. And that's getting back to the newsreels going ding, ding, this has happened again.
This is what you want, so be careful.
Yeah. So, and also let's show you the bad news, and you can listen to it every 5 minutes.
Well, you can listen to it constantly on Sky News, you know, or the internet. It's just I can't escape it. I made a decision, and funnily enough, Susan, I was, you know, I can't even tell you how many years, probably the last 20 years have been of the don't listen to the news. It's negative. It's negative. I have to hold my hand up. At the beginning of this, and I did stop completely. I wasn't really going outside. I had the news on 24/7.
Yeah.
It was only because my own children had heard me say that so often, came into me one day and went, Mum, you know, you always said that, you know, don't watch the news because it's, and I'd be going, yeah, but, you know, trying to justify it, you know, like, but this time it's, you know, and it took me by surprise a bit. I was like, oh, there you go. I've just learnt from my children. From what I was trying to teach them before, and to which I'm very, very grateful.
Yeah.
And turned it off. And it's amazing how simple.
Yeah. And there you are. You see, this is inner dialogue.
Yeah.
So let's talk about an old-fashioned radio or even a modern one, but you tune in. And you can go into the frequency and be right in the tuning station, and it's right there. And you can choose which station you want to tune into. It can be a happy station, or it could be a news station full of sad stuff. Or you can just actually tone down the frequency, and in between there, and this is all energy as well because it's within the radio as well. And it's sort of in, and there's that crackling sound that's going on. And that's that inner dialogue with the crackling sound going on, the bad news going the whole time. You have to consciously say, I am going to be totally mindful. I'm going to live right now in this time. And every time one of those thoughts come in, I have to say, go away.
No.
I'll see you in 5 days' time. In 5 days, I'll make a date with you at this time, 5 days' time. And every time it comes back again, you say, no, it was 5 days.
Not happening. Fantastic. Yes. Awesome. Yeah. Well, what an array of subjects that you can cover there, Susan. So many different things that you do. So to any of the listeners listening in, how can they get in contact with you? Is it through your website? If you want to share your website?
Yeah, you're welcome to get hold of me at www.susankathleen.com or www.awakenyourmindmagic.com. And you can find me on Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram as Susan Kathleen, the podcasting queen.
Way, love it.
And you'll find me there.
There you go. Well, I thank you so much for your time. I mean, what time is it over there? Bless you.
It's close to 9 o'clock at night.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's not. So I was thinking
still early.
You're still okay. So, guys, thank you for listening. That was absolutely fascinating, Susan. And I will be back with you on Thursday with a keto coffee with Karen, slightly different. So thanks for listening.
Welcome to the Coffee with Karen podcast, a weekly chat show discussing everything from holistic health to current affairs from a mental, physical, and spiritual perspective. Get your weekly cup of positivity with a sprinkling of woo-woo.